Today we're going to work on some very useful modal verbs: have to, must, may, and might. These verbs are very important because they help us express our attitude, meaning how sure we are about something, and also ideas like obligation, permission, or prohibition. Let's start with modal verbs of certainty, that is, how sure we are about a situation. First, we have must and have to. We use these when we are almost completely sure, about 90–95%. For example, imagine you see a person wearing a uniform during an election. You can say, he is talking to politicians and organizing votes. He must be a government worker. Or, that area is full of smoke and fire. It has to be a wildfire. In both cases, you are very sure based on evidence. Now, let's move to may. We use may when something is possible, but we are not completely sure, maybe around 50%. For example, there are dark clouds, it may rain later, or the government may introduce new environmental laws. It means it is possible, but not certain. Then we have might, which is similar to may, but a little less certain. For example, we might see more pollution in big cities in the future, or I might watch a documentary about climate change tonight. It suggests a weaker possibility, something that could happen but is less likely. Now, let's talk about another important use of these modal verbs, obligation and rules. Here, the meaning changes a bit. When we use must, we are talking about a strong obligation, often something personal or internal. For example, I must recycle more to protect the planet, or we must act now to stop pollution. This sounds strong, like a personal decision or responsibility. On the other hand, have to is also used for obligation, but usually it is something external, something that comes from rules, laws, or other people. For example, we have to follow environmental laws, or factories have to reduce pollution. Here, the obligation comes from outside, like the government or regulations. The negative form mustn't is very important because it expresses prohibition. It means something is not allowed. For example, you mustn't throw rubbish in the ocean, or people mustn't burn forests. These are strong rules, often related to protecting the earth. In contrast, don't have to means no obligation. It does not mean prohibition. For example, you don't have to drive, we can walk, or you don't have to vote today if it's not required. It means it is your choice. Now, let's look at may and might for permission. May is often used in more formal situations. For example, may I open the window? Or students may not enter this area. In this case, may not also expresses prohibition, especially in formal contexts. Might can also be used to ask for permission, like might I ask a question, but this is less common and sounds more formal or polite. Remember an important rule. After modal verbs, we always use the base form of the verb without to. So we say must act, not must to act, or may go, not may to go. This is a very common mistake, so be careful. Let's finish with a quick summary in context. If you are talking about global issues, you might say governments must take action to reduce pollution. If you are less sure, you can say they may introduce new policies, or they might change the laws in the future. And if there is a rule, you can say people have to recycle more, or they mustn't damage the environment. So, as you can see, these modal verbs help you express different levels of certainty and different types of obligation. The more you practice them in real situations, the more natural they will become.